Hi, welcome back to the Primal Lifestyle. And today's guest is someone I've been following both on TikTok and I've now picked him up on YouTube. And I will flash up his contact details shortly. So I'd just like to introduce you to Joshua. Hi, Joshua.
Hi, thank you for having me, Carl. I
Right,
appreciate the time to share my story.
right.
And
So exactly that. Would you, for the viewers of this channel, would you like to explain what your story is all about?
yeah, basically, about 4 years of carnivore, where I thought my fitness would keep me out of the doctor's office and prevent all those things. And after my original doctor retired, they sent in a new doctor, and all of a sudden, within 10 minutes, she's like, "Oh, you have high blood pressure, and you're a little bit overweight," and so on down the line. And that didn't seem right to me. So within 10 minutes of meeting this person, that she was already ready to prescribe me some blood pressure medicine.
Yeah.
So I immediately got triggered, and I subsequently ended up firing that doctor and finding a new doctor. But then it led me down the rabbit hole of, I think it was probably Dr. Ken Berry, where I was looking at how to treat your high blood pressure, and started down the rabbit hole of like the keto and the carnivore lifestyle. And then basically ended up seeing the interview with Sean Baker and Joe Rogan. And I was already kind of a heavy meat eater in the first place, but also, enjoying McDonald's because I'm on the go a lot. And, the typical American food like Chinese food, pizza, regularly eating and over consuming. And I said, after listening to a few people, I said, I'm going to give this a try. This seems to make sense to me. I already enjoy eating meat. I never really was a huge lover of vegetables in the first place, but they have their place. And then I just started really getting into the fitness again because I used to be fit. Then I let myself, kind of decline, got comfortable, was still working out, but not as intensely as previously. And, as many people explained about the blood pressure, it's a diet and exercise problem. So I went kind of have an all or nothing kind of personality. So I jumped right into getting back into the workouts and eating the carnivore way, and just bought my own blood pressure testing thing, and I just started paying attention to it more, and it just started dropping down, and I said, all right, well, this is working, let's keep going. you know Weights dropping off, workouts, you know feeling strong, keep improving, so why not keep going? So as long as you're seeing the results you want, I think there's no reason to change what you're doing. That's as long as you're moving in a positive direction and you're happy with where you're at, then that's the right move for you.
So how long were you on been on the more stricter carnivore? We'll talk about your current journey after.
I was probably 3 years fairly strict, where I was pretty much eating only meat. I was still having my coffee in the morning, and I do season some of my food throughout there with garlic and onion, and very basic. But, no breads, no grains, no real vegetables to speak of other than herbs and stuff that go on to my particular dinner. No potatoes, none of that stuff. And fantastic. Felt great. Felt strong. Energy's right there. I can continue through my workouts. I never gas out, and I've just kept on pushing through. So then I said, let me start testing the waters. And then I added small things at a time, just to see. Because how are you supposed to? If you just jumped all back in, you would never really isolate what really was affecting you negatively or positively. So first thing I added back in was like sauerkraut, and did well with sauerkraut. Felt good. I can't say that I had like an amazing like transformation from sauerkraut, but it was a nice little addition to the meal,
Yeah.
made it a little more pleasurable, a little contrast in flavor and taste. And then I
Yeah.
tested a few other things.
That's what I found great about the carnivore because it is a restrictive diet. when you start reintroducing, you actually find out how you are reacting with that reintroduction. So you've got your
Exactly.
baseline, and then because I found a couple of things I've felt bloated, and I've stopped. I mean, I'm part Irish, like your good self, and those early, and I love a Guinness. Obviously,
Yeah.
on this, I hadn't had a Guinness for 3 or 4 months. Then I had an opportunity to have a pint of Guinness around Christmas, and I was shocked how bloated it made me feel. So it just shows you don't notice it in your normal diet until you take it all out and you start reintroducing. So you're spot on there.
Exactly. Because I always loved eating nuts. So I recently tried to reintroduce those, and that was a no go for me. That was like not a pleasant reaction. I've eaten nuts my whole life up until this point. And, I'm just continually trying to do it with some kind of method of not just jumping back in. Right now, I'm on testing out potatoes and sweet potatoes and those kinds of things. I do like some fruit, but I didn't do well with the fruit. I felt bloated. I didn't do well with like spaghetti squash, felt bloated again. But potatoes and rice have worked out well for me. I feel like it's improved my sleep recently. I see a lot of people post the carnivore insomnia where everybody's getting up at 3:30 in the morning, and I
Yeah.
was on that same track. And I really think it was probably something more along the lines of maybe your blood sugar is dropping at night and your body's waking yourself up to
I see
react
we've
to
got
that. Sorry about that. um, but
that's fine.
for a few years, I just was like, all right, this is normal. I see a lot of people are waking up at this same time, and then I saw a few people were testing out things like having some raw milk before bed, and that seemed to start to extend their sleep period. So then it started to make me think, it's like, all right, am I being deficient in something because I'm being so strict? I'm adhering to this principle because we can all get stuck in this loop of this confirmation bias because our feed becomes all carnivore, all keto, and you never really branch out past that perspective because you want to be right, right? Like we all want to be right and reassure ourselves that we're doing the right thing. And I think it's
That
important
is
to,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is spot on because part of the reason I've rebranded away from Carnivore Nation to the Primal Lifestyle is because when I first started, Carnivore was everything to me, and I was getting all these fantastic results. So you kind of forget the little bits at the side. Now, where I've plateaued out, I'm happy with my weight, I'm happy with my fitness levels. I'm now looking to experiment and do it. So you're 100% right. You kind of get and it's great because the fun now we've come up with is that carnivore is a tool, not a cult. And at first, I think it does become in your mindset not quite a cult, but it's almost like, oh, you've got to do this. It's so great, it's so brilliant. Where
Right.
every one of us, you and I, are two different chemical labs, and we react
Mhm.
differently with different foods. And I think people have
Right.
got to understand there's no one fit all. And
Right.
the good
Right.
thing, yeah. So and I'm really interested in what you said about the sleep bit because I've noticed by five a.m. 6 a.m. most days I'm awake and I'm alert awake, not just sort of
Mhm.
sleepy awake. And I'm just wondering. I hadn't really considered what you've just said about the potential of perhaps the through the diet I'm lacking, so my body is waking me up deliberately. So I might
Right.
try to eat something late and see how that makes a difference.
Yeah. I've been playing back and forth with it. And, what got to the cult topic of it is like I post a lot of my meals on Instagram, and
Yeah,
there's always going to be somebody that's you're putting it out there so they're judging your plate, right?
yeah,
So, you're not doing it right. You got to have more fat. You should try this sardine fast, or you should be adding this. This is not carnivore. And I don't think that, depending on what you're trying to resolve your health issue
mm,
or whatever your goal is with the diet, that you have to have such a strict adherence. Like I just feel like it's become very cultish as it becomes more popular. People want to flex their knowledge on the carnivore diet that really haven't even been doing it long enough to have fully experienced it themselves. It's become popular, and everybody wants to flex their knowledge and comment on things. But what's right for me may not be what works best for you, and so
Yeah.
on through the line. That's why there's so many different ways to do it. There's a lot of people doing animal based and adding fruits and honey, and they get demonized from the carnivore community. And then some people are fantastic. When I first started out, it was like 4 years ago. Everyone was super supportive of everything you did, right? But the more
Yeah.
people that come into it and they want to flex their opinion or their knowledge on the particular subject, and they have a little brand. Everybody's a carnivore this, carnivore that. And I get the excitement because I did that myself. But just because you had a few ribeyes in the last month or so doesn't make you an expert in diet and nutrition.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely spot. And it's interesting to see how Paul Saladino was treated, because he was a big advocate of the
right.
carnivore. Then he decided to introduce and sort of change it, and he was almost extradited from the carnivore people. And I keep saying to it, there's no carnivore police. If you've
Exactly.
got a baseline, you do, like the B, 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 and E to me is my baseline, but then I
Right.
have other things around it. So I've got my core, and I can add other things into that. If I want to have some cream or something else, I will do it. I'm not going to be bullied and told, "Oh, you're not going to be the holy carnivore anymore."
Exactly. What they did to him, that doesn't seem right to me. I mean, he eats a tremendous amount of fruit. He seems like he's in fantastic shape. Like, why would we demonize him for testing out what works best for him?
Yeah,
He didn't come
absolutely.
out to. He's not trying to abolish the carnivore diet. He's just saying
No,
another perspective, and that's what I think social media should be: is people sharing their perspective and what is working and not working for them. So we have the
yeah,
opportunity here to have this massive worldwide database of people sharing their experiences
yeah,
and take it for what it
absolutely.
is, because I see a lot of people spout off about studies, and this study shows this and this study. Well, as far as I can tell, you can find a study that counters every study there is in existence. So if you don't show me a study that's randomized and is repeated 3 different times with the same kind of parameters, then you didn't show me anything scientific. You just showed me one particular result.
Yeah,
And that's great. It's a database, it's something to touch on and think about, but it's really not the end all be all, because there's an opposite study out there
yeah.
everywhere. And
See, for me, the biggest message I'm trying to get out there is come away from ultra processed foods. Now, if you want to go down the vegan side, which I did for a period of time, or you go down the low carb side, going to single ingredient eating is far better than any processed food. Then, as you say, it's then your own personal journey of how your chemistry lab reacts with what you're doing to it, and then
right.
finding the balance that between quality of life and lifestyle and all that. As you say, I'm sure you and I, 80% of what you eat, I'm eating, but the other 20% may vary because it does agree with me or doesn't agree with you, and vice versa. And that's a clear message I'm trying to push out, and that was part of the reason for the rebrand of the channel.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to look at it, because I think most of the problems that most people are experiencing are from this GMO'd, ultra processed food that we're just not
Yeah,
ready to take. And some people may do fine on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Live your life. If you're feeling your best, then
yeah,
then that's the way for you. And I think, just like what you said, is you went down to a baseline, and then now you start to build upon it, and that's what I'm doing. And I think it's important to test yourself to see what improves upon that. Like, why does it have to stop there? We don't do the bare minimum everything, right? You buy a car, you get options that the car can
yeah,
move without the AC, right? But it's
yeah,
nice to have it. It's nice to
yeah,
have heat, power windows, they're not absolutely necessary, because like I see people post like you can get all your nutrients from beef and this and that, but that's great and that is true, but we don't need to only do the bare minimum. Well, it's
Yeah.
the same with exercise in the fitness community. Is everybody wants to, they have the ultimate program, and that's the way because that's what works for them. But that doesn't mean that it works for all people. A lot of people, I
Yeah.
do a lot of burpees, as you've
Yeah.
probably seen on TikTok, but not a
Yeah.
lot of people want to do burpees, and that's fine. It doesn't mean it's the end all be all exercise. I'm just sharing what's working for me,
Yeah.
and me, just like this shirt, beef and burpees. That's for the last 3 or 4 years. Primarily, that's what I've been doing, and I feel great, and I'm in shape. In But that doesn't mean it's the answer for every person that they should just be eating beef and doing burpees all day. You
Yeah.
could walk. Walking is fine. Like it depends on what your goal is.
I'm going to confess it. I'm going to pinch your analogy about the car and the diet. I think that's a brilliant one. I may even do a little short on that because I
Right.
just think that is such a great way of demonstrating what the low carb options are. You know,
Right. Right.
I
We
think that's
just
brilliant.
there's never, we all do things that make our lifestyle a little more comfortable,
Yeah.
right? That's the reason that, civilization has evolved to this point, or else we'd still be in huts.
Yeah.
But we kept on making it better. Be like, hey, if I had a bed, that would be better than sleeping on the floor, and so on through life. So
Yeah.
I think carnivore is great as a health tool that allows you to get back, like you said, to baseline, really reevaluate your relationship with food, and then start working towards building what is the best plan for you.
Yeah.
Do you
I mean,
follow
that's
like,
spot on. You
yeah,
know,
do
you
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 follow
you
a lot
you,
of
you have nailed it as far as I'm concerned in what you stated there. I really do.
yeah, it's just a
So
little
so
pet peeve.
so
Yeah,
just sort of change on. So because we spoke slightly offline about that you're not a strict carnivore now.
correct.
So where have you found the successes in terms of tweaking the lifestyle?
Right now, I mean, I would say 80 to 90% of all the food I eat is still, carnivore meat based food, with the addition of playing around with some things, seeing how rice and potatoes and sweet potatoes work for me, particularly because, like, as a post workout meal, there's some benefit to refueling your body with that quick acting carbohydrate to help shuttle the insulin. Like, there's certain cases where you want insulin, right? It's the chronic insulin that's a problem. So I started, actually had an argument on TikTok with another person that gave me this idea, and I ended up blocking him because, I was still in that mindset of,
Yeah,
he was like a sports and performance guy with some actual knowledge in the
yeah,
field, and he was explaining that he's mostly ketogenic, but after his workouts, he would have like rice or something like that, something that's a quick acting kind of insulin spike that helps shuttle the protein and amino acids and everything, nutrients, into the muscle cells. So I found that at the time I was kind of in denial. We don't need the rice, we don't need this stuff, we can live with, the whole mantra of the carnivore team here. And that's what made me start to reevaluate. I'm like, am I leaving things on the table because I'm only stuck in this mindset that I've already found the solution, the fountain of youth, and there's no other perspective on it? Or should I reevaluate? So I went down a little rabbit hole of testing foods out, and I continue to test foods out. I mean, I had some spaghetti squash and that didn't work out well at all for me. But the potatoes seem to digest well. The rice is very easy digesting. I just don't eat a lot of rice because I tend to overeat the rice.
right.
Potatoes very satiating, so I have no problem. Plus, I can just easily just say, all right, that's a serving. It's one potato. I put it on the plate. I'm good to go.
And are you
And
eating that with your meat diet? Because I've seen some people talk about if you're going to have carbs, don't have it with your protein. Eat it as a separate occasion, so your body can adjust absorbing that rather than having the bile coming in and mixing it and not absorbing so much food.
I'm not. I'm eating it with my meat, fat, and potatoes. Like I haven't had any bad reactions to it. I've actually improved on some of my workouts, and my sleep has improved. Now I've played around with like at night having more of a strict carnivore approach to it, and just trying to have the carbohydrates as that post workout. But
Right.
I noticed when I didn't have my night carbohydrates, I was back to waking up at the 3:30 mark again. And when I do incorporate some carbohydrates into my dinner, that I'm making it closer to 5:30. So I'm extending my sleep hours by 2 hours, which is as big as long as
Yeah.
sleep time, because it's just as valuable as the exercise or the eating. Is like your body repairs itself in sleep time. So that outweighs any consequence of the small amount of carbohydrates to take in my
See,
opinion.
I find that interesting as well. What that guy told you, because I did judo at a pretty decent level through my late teens, early 20s, and we were always told to have carbohydrate before the workout and have
Right.
protein after the workout because your body will absorb the protein and turn into muscle. And what he's almost saying is the opposite.
Right.
So
I
that's
think
interesting.
people do have different, a lot of people will eat carbohydrates ahead of time. I do all my workouts fasted
Yeah.
because I do a lot of high intensity stuff. So if I got food sloshing around in there, I'm not going to be feeling my best. But I go fasted. Basically, I just have my coffee with some cream in the morning, do whatever I got to do for the day. Then I hit my workout as hard as I can. And then I have my, my lunch or my first meal right after my workout with the potato now. Before I wasn't, and I was still doing well. I was making great gains, doing a lot of, very high intensity stuff that technically you would need carbs to fuel, according to many, but it's really not the case. You're just picking a fuel source on that. But I feel like, why exclude things that are not disagreeing? If you can handle the food, then why just not include it in your diet? Like,
Mm.
if you're trying to solve a particular issue, then you probably should be strict, right? Until you figure out what thing. It's not everything that you were eating that was causing it. It could be one or two things that was in that was causing you to have a problem. It doesn't mean that all carbohydrates. I mean, I'm not, when I say carbohydrates, I'm having an actual like organic potato. I'm not having a bag of potato chips, and
Yeah.
I'm not eating crackers and grains and stuff like that. Like, I'm having like real whole food carbohydrates.
Single
That's what
ingredient.
I mean. Yeah, I'm not down in some sugar just to get that insulin spike. But I'm trying to eat whole food still. I'm trying to make, conscious, intelligent decisions on what I add to my food, so I don't go back into that trap of that slow, gradual decline. You don't want to be like tipping the scale back after you do all this hard work.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
talking about your workouts, as I say, I followed, I came across you on TikTok initially, and then obviously subsequently have followed you across to YouTube. Now I
yeah.
sometimes get quite exhausted watching you because your workouts are quite intense and that. So do
Yeah.
you want to give a bit of background with regards to that, what you're trying to achieve, or why you do the workouts, or that apart from the obvious fitness, etc.
Yeah, sure. It's like a lot of it started out when I was initially started that conversation with the doctor about blood pressure. But I had previously been like in shape a while back, and then everyday life, and you start to get into the grind of life, and fitness gets on the back burner because it just becomes less of a priority, right? So I used to be pretty fit. I did some CrossFit for a long time, and I've been in and out varying through the years. And when COVID hit and everything kind of like got locked down, about the same time where I was like having the high blood pressure, that I really dove in. I watched a few guys on YouTube doing burpees, and I always wanted to have a YouTube channel. So I was like, hey, well, I can do that. I was pretty good at that, and it was burpees just stuck with me because there's no gym equipment needed. You literally just need some motivation to put in the reps and to do it. And then the more I did it and realized that I could keep up with some of these guys I was seeing on YouTube, I said, well, let me share this. It's very simple. What could be simpler than eating the carnivore diet and doing burpees? For me, it just worked fantastic. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to get, your gym bag and drive someplace. You could do it in your living room. It's basically where I started doing it. And then I just kept on testing myself and get inspired by people you see online doing. There's a lot of great burpee channels out there. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. This guy's doing this and this guy's doing that. I'm like, I can do that. So I just kept on pushing myself until I really could do that. And I always it's kind of weird, but I like that feeling of pushing through those super hard workouts. I get a little sense of satisfaction at the end. I almost get a little bit of a high off of it, like you would of people describing a runner's high. I never had that feeling running. When I'm running, I feel like I'm going to die. But I'd rather burpee all day long. Now I'm incorporating more weight training due to the value of holding muscle mass and, the benefits of just having muscle mass on you, the stem cells it releases, just the quality of life and mobility. And I just feel like diet alone without the exercise is not the full package, really. I think it's a lifestyle. The lifestyle altogether is really where the true benefit of health comes in. Now, it doesn't have to be as intense as what I'm doing. People do very well just walking. Keep some kind of small resistance training going. Stick to the basics. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like in any of these niches, right, whether it's diet or fitness, everybody's got the ultimate program for you, and what you're doing is wrong. But it's not really the case. It's what works best for you. People want to sell you programs or coaching. Do you really need that? Is there enough information out there that you could find somebody that you relate to that maybe describes something the way you like it, in that you could benefit? You don't have to drink the Kool-Aid, right, and just do whatever they say, but you could learn something from all of these different perspectives so that you can build on what works best for you, whether that be the diet, the fitness, or whatever in life that makes you happy, right? That's what we're all trying. There's no guarantees that you're going to live forever in any of these. I don't care what diet you're on or how much you exercise. There's no guarantees. You want to just live the best quality of life you can while you're here. That's what I'm doing. That's my goal.
So how long are your workouts? Because obviously I've seen your YouTube, they're an hour-ish long. I mean, is that pretty much the full workout, or do you edit down to, it's a longer workout?
Most of my workouts, I have about a 15-20 minute kind of warm up that you never really see because it's boring. And then the majority of my workouts are 20 to 40 minutes of just high intensity where I really just try to put the pedal to the metal. I want to get the most out of it. So if you counted the warm up and most of my average workouts, you're probably 45 minutes to an hour, 3 to 4 times a week. If I have extra time, I crank out something else. Sometimes I might do something easier where it just involves hiking or walking or something like that. But I just feel like I do my best with some kind of 20 to 30-minute exercise. That's my sweet spot for me. And
Yeah.
a lot of
And
times, sometimes
sorry, and do you find like the diet, the high meat or the low carb diet, has improved your performance and strength, or do you think you're pretty similar as you were when you were on the normal American standard diet?
I think it helps retain muscle mass for sure with the high meat. And I feel like the recovery time is tremendously faster than what I used to do. I
Right.
just feel like I can I can repeat those workouts even at that high intensity a lot more frequently, right? Like when I'm pure carnivore, I feel like I don't get that muscle soreness that you would get from
Okay.
weight training. And I did notice when I've reincorporated the carbohydrates now on the same kind of weight training, I'll have some of that delayed muscle soreness there. I don't know if that's just because there's extra volume in the muscle and it's stretching it out, or if that's contributing some other way. But I
Do,
do feel like like it definitely improves recovery for sure. And having that high fat is really my main source of the energy. I'm using the carbohydrates after the fact to help
yeah,
shuttle all the nutrients into the cells. Is I'm kind of backloading the carbohydrates. I'm not fueling my workout with the carbohydrates. I'm recovering from it.
that makes a lot of
And
sense. That makes a lot of sense indeed. So, what's your future plan? Where do you see yourself going forward? Are you still going to be experimenting? Are you looking to do competition? What are your plans?
Well, I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm in competition with myself. I mean, I just want to continue to learn. I don't ever think that I really know everything. As you know, I just all I can really offer is my perspective and what's working for me, and
Hmm.
that will continue to evolve as I discover different things that work for me. Like for the longest time, I was only doing the burpees with a little bit of things added in there just to keep it interesting. Now I'm adding a little more training because I've kind of come to a point where I'm not like putting muscle on at that point with the burpees. I'm still keeping a high level of fitness, but I
Hmm.
want to add some more muscle to my frame, and strength training is very important to do that. And I push that little past your regular resistance from your body weight. But
Hmm.
that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just what I'm experimenting with. I will always continue to test the food situation. I love food, and I want to try to build out a, beyond that meat base what things I can and cannot have to that, because I've pretty much looked around worldwide on the internet, and a lot of carnivore people want to like name a specific tribe or a region that is meat based, but they don't only eat meat. There's very few that only eat meat. We watch all these tribes, and we a lot of people point to carnivore and in Hong Kong as the highest meat consumption, the highest life expectancy. But actually went down the rabbit hole and watched all kinds of. They also smoke a lot, drink a lot. They have a lot of rice. They do eat a lot of meat. They eat a lot of stir fry as well, but they also don't have like a lot of downtime. They're working, like they're physical. They're walking everywhere. They don't have like the conveniences that we have to be lazy. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
so
that's
that
interesting what you said about you backloading with the carbs, because you're creating a situation where you're burning fuel through your
right.
workout. So therefore, adding the carbs, where if someone was, we use the expression over here in the UK, a couch potato, where they're sitting on the potato watching TV all the time, and you're eating carbs. There's nothing for your
Hmm.
body to do with those carbs. so it's naturally going to put it into storage. So it's,
Right.
and that's the same principle what you're saying about them, because they're busy lives, they're burning off everything they're eating because it's the nature of the human body.
Sure, sure. I mean, it's just you do the best you can with what you have, right? That's the predominant food for the area, so you're going to adapt to do that. Does it mean everybody thrives because they're eating rice? No, but that's the options you have. So like we're pretty incredible machines, right? We adapt very quickly to whatever stimulus we're given, right?
Yeah.
When you do a particular exercise, your body will adapt to it very, very quickly. And same with the food. Like I got to a point where I wasn't really able to eat eggs anymore. I've eaten eggs my entire life. And that was
Wow.
another reason that triggered me into looking into, am I creating an imbalance someplace in here unknowingly because I'm relying only on the meat products and leaving things on the table? Can you only eat meat? Absolutely. I did for years. And there's a lot of people thriving and doing great on it. But at some point, I believe that it is worth experimenting to see what works for you, and I think that's part of life is just continuing to learn. Nobody has all the absolute, none of these carnivore doctors, they don't all have the absolute answer. We're all running on this, we're all participating in this kind of this test, like it's a ongoing theory that people are doing well on. And as long as you're doing well, I think you should continue on it. If you're
Yeah.
achieving what you want to achieve, then that's the right thing for you. It's just when I feel like people are telling people they're doing it wrong all the time is where it becomes that cultish, like
Yeah.
you got to be eating a stick of butter and you got to be jamming sardines down and all that. But if that doesn't work for you, don't be forcing yourself to do that.
Yeah, and that's where it's a tool, not a cult. And that's
Right.
the spot. Because you kind of answered my next question, really, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. So anyone watching this that's interested in your type, with doing the workouts as well as the diet side of it, what sort of advice would you give them that are thinking of starting to do something like that?
For the workouts?
Well, for the combination of doing a life change where they want to get fitter, they want to use diet as well as potentially exercise.
Yeah. If I was just starting out, I would say go right, if you can, work your way down to base carnivore or BBBE or something like that, where it narrows the food choice down to the core. You're getting your nutrition, and do that as long as you're trying to solve a particular problem. If you're having skin issues or if you're just trying to lose weight, have a goal in mind and see how you react. I would say you got to give it at least 90 days to really see if it's actually
Yeah.
doing anything real for you. Like you can't just eat it for 2 weeks and be like, I didn't feel that good, I'm not going to do it. Your body might be dumping toxins, it might be doing other things, or just getting used to it. So like, to give it a fair shot, I would say 90 days strict. And if you're still feeling great and you feel like your situation is improving, carry on with that. If you start to hit a plateau or you need to add a little something to make it more sustainable to you, there's nothing wrong with adding something that you can tolerate to that meal to keep it sustainable. Because the bottom line, I think, is you're getting the core of your nutrition from the animal products, and then everything on there just makes it more sustainable to you.
Yeah.
If you want to be so rigid that you can't do it anymore and it's going to cause you just to fall off the wagon and go back to your old habits, then you defeated the purpose of doing that.
No,
And
spot on. Brilliant.
continue to evolve is a good thing. You should always, in my opinion, continue to question your own self to make sure you're still on the right path. It's like I preach it in every one of my end of my videos. Train hard, eat real food, and be your own master. Well, part of being your own master is not just following along, but reevaluating for yourself if that's the right thing for you. And I say that at the end of every video. And as far as exercise, we're all starting at a different point. So it doesn't mean you have to go out and do 100 burpees like I do, or, you know, I've built up to that point. Stick to the absolute basics. If you're not mobile right now, literally just standing up out of the seat, and
Yeah.
work it from there. If you can get up and out of the seat 3 times, shoot for 10.
Yeah.
Or, if you make it past that point, start hitting those walks. If you're feeling great and you start to gain that mobility, there's nothing wrong with having a unglamorous workout routine, right? There's nothing wrong with push-ups, squats that you could do without any weight, just your own body weight, some sit-ups and some walking, and get in fantastic shape. People get too hung up on the numbers and how many am I supposed to do. One more than you did yesterday is fine. It really is. It's just that simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just you have to push yourself just slightly more than you did the previous day, and you will continue to improve, because it's a lifelong journey. This is not,
Yeah.
people love to sell these 6-week programs and get shredded in 6 weeks, 90 days, or whatever it is. That might be so for somebody that was previously in shape and just wants to like dial everything back in. But if you're starting from a poor health perspective, or you're extremely overweight, you just got to start getting moving, and eating right will help you start dropping that weight, because you're not really going to lose weight by exercising. You lose a
Mm.
little, but the weight and the inflammation comes from the diet. The
Yeah.
exercise is for sustaining muscle mass, circulation, brain health, heart health. That's where the exercise is for, like, the quality of life, on
Mm.
top of eating the proper food. And that's what I try to
Brilliant.
preach in my videos. Every single end of the video, I got it written on the wall behind me in my world workout area, which is my basement, that I just threw together because I was doing the burpees, like I said, in the living room. And then, I said, all right, let me see if I can share some of this. Maybe I can get some people motivated and get them moving. And I just built a little tiny room down there. I wrote on the wall, become the best version of yourself. And whatever that means to you is
Yeah.
what it is. It's not wrong. Like, people want to tell you, like, oh, you got to be doing this and that. The
They
comparison.
lecture, aren't they? They're very quick to lecture. And as you say, quite often, like myself, I'm not massively informed, but I'm so impressed with my journey. That's why I'm now studying for a PhD. So I can learn,
Right.
and understand, what's going on. And I have learned so much on this journey already. And I've picked up a couple of things today from you. So it's phenomenal. So
Yeah.
really appreciate your time, Joshua. I'm just going to flash up your socials again. I don't have your Instagram, so I didn't realize you had Instagram. But they can find you obviously here on YouTube, and I can honestly tell you guys, it's very addictive watching you, Joshua. And I mentioned in our little correspondence beforehand, I'm always interested why you always punch your stomach, and I take it as just a reset mental thing that you do. But
Yeah.
I'm watching from afar, but I've actually now converted some of my garage. I've got a pull-up bar there now and a bench, so I'm going to start, because I've not done anything on my journey so far other than walk the dog and got myself
Yeah.
fit. But I want to step up a level now in terms of my fitness levels and get back to how I was when I was fighting at judo. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm using a
Absolutely.
slogan from sumo to judo, because I almost was the size of a sumo wrestler, and I'm hoping to get back to my judo fitness. So
Absolutely. I would suggest taking some pictures of you before and after, because sometimes when the transformation is slow, you don't see the results, and you could get discouraged. Oh, that's not working, because we see these guys on social media having the special sauce that grow very, very quickly. But for the rest of us, meat and eggs and some exercise, some resistance, yeah, over time, consistency will pay off for sure.
absolutely brilliant. Joshua, thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone for watching. Obviously, Joshua's details will be in the link below as well, in case you want to follow him. And trust me, he's well worth a watch.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for watching.